Production. A DC-10 flying over Windsor, Canada, exhibited the first signs of problems in the new jet.
There was an incident involving a DC-10 departing Detroit. As it was climbing, the cargo door blew off and some cargo went out of the aircraft. The aircraft had considerable control difficulties because of the loss of the door. Depressurization had collapsed the floor in the back of the airplane.
As the cargo door came off, there was an explosive decompression of air in the cabin, escaping out of the hull. The pressure of the massive volume of air was so heavy that the cabin floor gave way. Even though control cables running under the cabin floor were damaged, the pilots were able to land the plane, and no life was lost. It was later determined that the vent door, a secondary locking device on the cargo door, wasn't secured before takeoff.
When we got the report from the baggage handler, he said he was having a hard time closing the vent door, so he had to put his knee on it to close the door, and he forced and bent the mechanism such that the light went off in the cockpit and the vent door closed. So the cargo door apparently looked like it was sealed, and the door itself was closed, but it wasn't properly latched.
The torque tube in the locking mechanism of the cargo door could be bent by human force. Once bent, the tube would allow the door to close, even though it was not properly latched.
The NTSB wrote a report and issued safety recommendations to the FAA, requesting that the FAA consider certain modifications to the door and to the aircraft to prevent the damage from a loss of the door.
The FAA allowed for the modifications to be carried out on a voluntary basis. Although most carriers repaired their aircraft, some, especially those operating outside the U.S., did not. On March 3, 1974, a Turkish Airways DC-10 departed from Paris. The first few minutes of the flight were routine. But suddenly, as the plane reached 13,000 feet, the cargo door blew up. The immense force of the pressurized air in the cabin as it rushed out the cargo door buckled the floor.
When the floor collapsed, some of the seats actually detached from the floor and went out the door, out the airplane.
Vital control lines for the plane ran just under the cabin floor. They were instantly severed.
What happened is that the airplane, because the floor collapsed and actually moved the controls mechanically, the crew cannot overcome that mechanical difference, so the airplane came down.
The plane slammed into trees in a forest. All 346 passengers were killed. Investigators soon discovered that the cause of the crash was almost identical to the accident in Windsor.
According to the French report, the door was not closed properly, that's why it came open, and they could not find evidence of the fixes that we had put out after the Windsor accident in the wreckage.
As a result of the Paris accident, there was a fix put on the door which included what they called a feedback loop. Not only was there a rod going from the handle to the latch pins and to the small pressurization door, there was a feedback loop. Another set of rods were connected back to the handle to show that the latch pins had in fact engaged properly.
The crash also resulted in a mandated design change for not just the DC-10, but all wide-body aircraft. These planes had small vents between the cabin floor and the cargo area, designed to equalize pressure between the two areas it needed. The venting system was adequate in smaller planes, but couldn't equalize the vast volume of air in a wide-body. The fix entailed installing additional vents in the floor of the cabin, which would allow air to rapidly equalize.
If you have a pressure change, such as what would occur as a result of such as a cargo door opening up, then these doors would open up. So kind of spring load and they basically open up. And what they do is they allow then the pressure to vent around the outside of the floor and keeps that whole floor from collapsing.
A series of unrelated accidents involving DC-10s, including the 1979 crash of Flight 191 in Chicago, which resulted in the grounding of all DC-10s, culminated with passengers refusing to fly on the aircraft. Orders for the plane slowed, and in 1989, the DC-10 went out of production. However, the existing 446 planes continue to operate around the globe.
It is definitely a safe airplane. In fact, because of these accidents that it had,